two new strategic territorial thematic projects have joined the mission, Water and Redeem, and bringing also more knowledge and perspectives and members to this growing community. I will give in a little bit the floor to Katerina Pratico in order to welcome them a little bit more. For those of you that don't know me, including the new TPs, I'm Marilena Mohinaki-Karabadzaki from region of Crete, the lead partner of Dialogue for Nature. And today's session is an important preparatory step for the upcoming institutional dialogue event, which will take place in Barcelona from 25 to 27 of November. This year, the discussion will focus on terrestrial ecosystem restoration, an essential dimension of our mission's vision for a more resilient Mediterranean. We are also delighted to have with us an external consultant, Doha Zamel, who will support the facilitation of both today's webinar and the upcoming institutional dialogue event in Barcelona. I will give her the floor after Katerina in order to introduce herself and guide us through the agenda. So in order not to delay anymore the progress of the webinar, have a warm welcome from me again, and please, Katerina, take the floor.
Thank you, Marilena. Thank you. I will spend only really 2 minutes for, as you said, welcoming the new strategic projects that joined our mission in the last weeks. They are just starting their activities in these days. And of course, as you said, it's a pleasure to start working with them. I say only a few words for just having a short understanding of what they are supposed to bring in our community. Both of them, as this call was really focused on specific topics and specific environments, both the two projects, the Water Project and the Redeem Project, are facing the challenge of water scarcity and climate change in rural Mediterranean areas. And they are approaching this challenge with two, of course, different approaches. The important thing of the strategic projects is that they are working in a long-term perspective, and also with a long working plan lasting until the end of the program period. Their partnership is relevant because their strategic nature is requesting this kind of partnership. The Water Project is addressing the challenge by demonstrating the effectiveness of water heritage systems in securing water during droughts, and proposing joint solutions, strategies and action plans, and cross-border cooperation by establishing a water alliance, while Redeem will face the same challenge with the introduction of Nexus approach. Also, in this case, Redeem will demonstrate 7 solutions and a framework of integrated water governance, pilot interventions, and water resilience plans. Very important, their approach also to the activity of capacity building and transfer. We will have the chance to know more about what they will bring to our community, and we will be happy if we can already meet them in Barcelona in 1 month. So welcome, and we are eager to know more about you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Katerina.
you so much.
Please, Doha, take the floor, and thank you for all your help and support.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Marilena and Katerina, for this nice introduction and for setting this stage nicely and neatly. Well, as Marilena mentioned, I'll be facilitating today's webinar alongside our partners. And without further ado, let's move to our first session, which is on the presentation of the upcoming institutional dialogue and key events. Well, this section will bring us to a broader context. We'll begin with a look at the key political and policy moments that frame our work this year, starting with the annual institutional dialogue that Marilena mentioned, the 10th UFM Regional Forum, and the upcoming COP24 of the Barcelona Convention that will be held in December in Cairo. So we'll hear from Alba Guitard from MidCities and Arnaud from Plan Bleu. More insights about the three key political moments that connect directly to our work as a mission, and more about the nature heritage mission key messages for the UFM Regional Forum. Then we will pass the floor to Alessandra Sensei from the Union for the Mediterranean, the head of Environment, Blue and Green Economy Division, to highlight the UFM Greener Med agenda, which anchors regional cooperation on sustainability in a broader Mediterranean policy landscape. So Alba, please, over to you.
Thank you very much, Doha. If I may, I will share the screen. Just let me. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Yes, now we can see.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'm Alba Guitard. I'm from MedCities Network. Some of you knows me, some of you don't. So welcome. Sorry. As you know, as different, our idea and our mission, our mandate, I would say, it's to facilitate policy opportunities to the projects of the mission. And we are in 2025 is a very interesting moment politically. We start with the UNOC 3 in June, and now the end of the year also brings us to new opportunities for TPs and for the community in terms of policy. So one of these opportunities is the UFM Regional Forum. So we decide that our annual institutional dialogue should be a side event of this UFM Regional Forum. As you know, the forum is an event, it's a closed event. It's an interministerial meeting. We will talk a little bit later on about what is this meeting. But in any case, for us, it was a very interesting moment to set this institutional dialogue because we are in a very interesting moment in which we are in front of the 30th anniversary of the Barcelona process, the 50th anniversary of the Barcelona Convention, and also let's say the first year of the natural restoration plans, building plans, let's say, for all of the European countries. And also in front of the new pacts of the European Union face the Mediterranean region, but also concerning other subjects such, for example, as oceans, and also, for example, fresh water, you know, the new strategy, the new European strategy for fresh water. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on. So our idea is to bring all these things in the dialogue. The dialogue will be a 3 days event. and in which we are going to try to reflect on this Barcelona process and Barcelona Convention, which is their status right now after 30 years and 50 years of implementing these two very big agreements and very important for the region. Then also we are going to have some insights of the natural restoration law and the natural restoration plans, and these new European pacts, especially the one of the oceans, but also the one of the Mediterranean, which are very new. And in fact, we think we have something to say about them, and we need to interact with them because they're going to be also our new framework, legal framework to interact. And obviously, and well, the most important thing for us also is to showcase, and to give opportunities for our project mission projects to showcase the best practices they are developing, but also to try to find new takers, to try to interact with these institutions that are setting up this policy framework. So I'm going to be very quickly now presenting the agenda of this three days event. I hope all of you have already received our invitation. Please let us know if someone of you didn't receive the invitation. So if you got the chance to take a look at the agenda that was sent on Monday, the idea is to do this, to have three different moments. One, the first one with this very political and policy view, in which we're going to have invitees from the DJ MENA, DJ Mare, DJ Envy. Also, we're going to interact with different ministries, regions, and local authorities of the Mediterranean to see how they are dealing with all these legal frameworks, especially, the pacts from one side, and also Barcelona Convention and Barcelona process on the other side, and obviously we will have the floor for the community, for the whole community, to interact with them, because that's why this is a dialogue, and this is what we are going to foster, or we're going to try to do it as best as we can. And then we will have a second moment in this first day in which we're going to specifically talk about the natural restoration plans, which is for us a very big opportunity to interact, because we know that states needs to engage with regional actors and local actors, so people who are in the territories to implement this plan. So this is going to be a very interesting moment. We're thinking about this session as an interactive, an interactive moment in which we're going to present an example. The dialogue this year will be in Barcelona, so we're going to take the Spanish case, and we're going to see how they are dealing with this different multi-governance level, how they are trying to implicate all the parties of this governance level. And then we will see how also our projects are really helping to implement these natural restoration plans. So I think it will be also a very interesting moment to be there. And finally, we're going to finish our day with a very nice networking and chin-chin, celebration for the 30th anniversary of the Barcelona process and the 50th anniversary of Barcelona Convention. So please don't hesitate to come. The 26th is going to be more, the 26th and the 27th is more community focused. So our idea is to work more on the different solutions developed for our community. Well, first of all, we're going to have this moment in which we're going to continue having some inputs of the whole community to continue building this document we start doing last year concerning a joint position document, let's say, especially on natural restoration, the natural restoration law. But also we will have most of the day it will be concerning all these solutions, transfer opportunities. We're going to invite some takers, local takers that they're going to listen to you. Then we're going to talk a little bit on communication, the Solve the Challenge campaign, and finally we're going to present a study, or well, yeah, kind of a study where we're doing from our side. And the last day, the 27th, it will be a more intimate, let's say, activity in which we are going to, to finish all these very charged and very intense event, to try to have like more one-to-one conversations from different views and from different parties to go in depth on the solution. So the idea is that once we have this big picture, we can, as takers, we can select those projects and those solutions that really raise our interest and have really a conversation with them to have more information and more opportunities to go in depth with the solutions. And then I will let the floor to my colleague Arnaud, which is the person who is going to present this opportunity of the Barcelona Convention COP24.
Thank you very much, Alba. Good morning, everybody. I am Arnaud Théris. I work for Plan Bleu, based in Marseille, one of the regional activity centers of the UNEP map system. And as Alba mentioned, we're in a very dynamic and evolving political context from the European and international levels. But at the Mediterranean level, we have a very important milestone at the end of the year, which is the 24th meeting of the contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention. As Alba said, also it is this year the 50th anniversary of the convention, which was celebrated in June at the UN Ocean Conference in Nice. And this final milestone in Cairo, Egypt, will take place in December from 2 to 5th of December. And what we can expect in terms of agenda and key issues to be discussed at the COP during those 4 days is a focus on sustainable blue economy for a resilient and healthy Mediterranean, which will be the theme that the region and the system will focus on for the next 2 years. And as usual, in those 4 days, you have a ministerial session where the countries gather to validate through COP decisions the different agenda points. Especially there will be a renewed commitment to tackle specific topics such as land-based pollution, marine biodiversity, and MPAs, aligning with the global biodiversity framework and the recent commitments and pledges from the international communities from 2022 in Kunming-Montreal. Of course, climate change adaptation is going to take a central place in the Mediterranean strategy for sustainable development, becoming the first priority. And we also see the renewing and reinforcement of sustainable finance finance becoming a strong pillar of the transition, phasing out harmful subsidies and identifying new economic tools that can actually lever sustainable development and support countries in their transition, mobilizing new funding resources, building new partnerships between public and private actors. So these are some of the main issues that are becoming central to the convention, but also tackling pollution, marine atmospheric, from ships. We had this year in May the SECA zone that entered into force, so tackling sulfur oxides. But the next step is going further is to tackle like establishing a NECA area, such as it exists also in other regional seas. So there are many issues that need to be debated at COP24. So we expect a very rich and fruitful event with lots of discussions. Many side events also will take place, and I will touch upon this in a minute. Well, in terms of political priorities to be anticipated also for the coming years within the framework of the convention, it is the final 2 years of the medium-term strategy 2022-2027. So the implementation of this strategy is focusing on the following themes: marine and coastal pollution, biodiversity and species protection, climate change, sustainable tourism, governance, environmental monitoring, and sustainable development and data. And as some of you may know, the Mediterranean strategy for sustainable development was revised in a process that lasted 2 years since the last COP in Slovenia, in Piran, where the coordinating unit and Plan Bleu coordinated a few events, working groups, different working groups, as well as also we worked with SPARAC and PAPRAC on coordinating those working groups, especially on finance, on adaptation, coastal adaptation, and tackling climate change and pollution. So this new revised version of the MSSD, the strategy, will be adopted at the COP as well. So it is an important milestone, as it sets also the priority for the region for the next 10 years. Can you move to the next slide, Alba, please? Thank you. In terms of side events, as I just mentioned, there are many different ones that will take place during those 4 days. We have received the news that the Inter-Euromed Dialogue for Nature side events or Mission for Nature event has been accepted, with the request of merging with a side event from the Met Fund and with SPARAC, as well as also the side event for the technical and scientific support mechanism for the Global Biodiversity Framework. So just to go back on the first one, we will have one side event from the mission, where we will focus on presenting the policy recommendations that we are building now, that we did also last year on marine and coastal restoration. Pushing for restoration has become also a major tool and important aspect of environmental policy. And this year we're focusing more on terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems, so extending the work started last year. So we will be discussing that in this side event, so really focusing on mainstreaming nature conservation. And we will align with the Met Fund, which will focus on the funding that we need to actually implement projects on the ground in the framework of the MSSD. The second side event, which is looking at this new mechanism that was set up in the region. It is one of the outcomes from the last CBD COP in Cali, in Colombia, where the contracting parties to the convention validated the creation of 15 regional centers to support the countries in the implementation of the Global Biodiversity Framework. And the Technical and Scientific Support Center for the Mediterranean, which is at the crossroad between three centers, actually. The one from the European and South European Mediterranean Center is coordinated by IUCN, Center for Mediterranean Cooperation, based in Malaga, also a partner of the Dialogue for Nature project. So the side event will focus on the necessary governance arrangements that need to be made to go towards a coordinated technical center that works with the other centers from Western Asia, from the Balkans, to really cover the Mediterranean as a region, and to really support the different sub-regions. So there is an alignment process going on at the moment between the different actors, and so we will be discussing at COP24 how to move forward together. I'll stop there. Maybe one last information. There's also a conference, a national conference on wetlands that will take place not as a side event, but later after the end of COP24 on Sunday, 7th, which will focus on Egypt, because Egypt is the host country. And this National Wetland Conference will focus more on supporting Egypt in developing a strategy around wetland conservation. And these colleagues from Tour du Vala and others are leading on this. So this is also part of this important political momentum that we're seeing at the end of this year. Thank you very much. I'll stop here and I'll hand over the floor to Doha. I think you'll pass it then to Alessandra from UFM. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arnaud. Thank you so much, Alba, for giving this insightful overview of the upcoming key political milestones that will mark the end of 2025. And we couldn't agree more that the implementation of restoration plans and strategy need the political engagement and the political will. In this context, we'll give the floor to Alessandra Sensi.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Hello, Alessandra.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Just
Please,
after your presentation, just because it's in the agenda, and I will just explain a little bit about our key messages, but please, Alessandra, just continue and...
Yeah, actually, it's very interesting. First of all, thank you very much and good morning to everybody. It's very interesting actually to take part to this exercise. I'm just a bit pressed today and I would have wished to take a bit more time actually for this. But before moving to a presentation, I think that I would like to pick on some of your inputs to make some comments and some reflections. So rather to give an overview rather than to focus on a presentation, which, just show what we are doing. First of all, I mean, we have been having the opportunity to exchange with all of you. So within, a much broader context in which the UFM is operating. The governance projects themselves have been labeled by the UFM. It's precisely because governance is important in all its different, let's say, categories. And indeed, we value all this work, and it's in this context that we want to try to maximize all the results and the solution and the outputs that you are producing. However, I had the opportunity actually to discuss with Alba about it just, on the occasion of the meeting we had in Marseille. The regional forum, as you mentioned, is a very political forum. It's the meeting of the Union for the Mediterranean, the annual meeting of the Union for the Mediterranean ministers and Secretary of State of the 43 Euro-Mediterranean countries. Now, You mentioned and underlined that this is a closed meeting, and it is, and it's for obvious reason, and especially in a very complex Mediterranean situation as it is. What I really liked when I heard all of you, Doa, Arnaud, Caterina, of course, is still this strong, let's say, inspiration and breathe to the future, which I think we should maintain, all of us. But it's a matter of fact that we are going through different. Sorry, I will put the presentation so that I can move it myself, if you don't mind. I will share the presentation myself. So what I want to underline is that we have to maintain this flow of activities, but we also have to be very aware of the extremely different geopolitical context in which we are operating, and how the world that we have been living in, even over the past 10 years, has been rapidly changing, I would say, over the past 2 years. So it was an enormous change. So as you said, we are moving towards the regional forum, and this regional forum is particularly important. Why? Because the Ocean Pact, of course, and the Med Pact have been mentioned, but we are looking also at a new vision for the Union for the Mediterranean. It's a new vision where there are 3 pillars, and basically they are around connecting people, connecting countries, and connecting economies. So the countries are discussing how, let's say, to restructure the work and activities around these 3 pillars, which indeed the Med Pact also reflects. I would like also to mention that, of course, our process, but this is by mandate, have been always multi-stakeholders. We have set up mechanisms so that this stakeholder and multi-level component is directly embedded in the, I would say, the decision-making itself. And I would like also to mention that we have some our priorities, which are our common priorities, so not just of the Union for the Mediterranean, but of the 43 countries and all related partners, set by the Ministerial Declaration. So the Ministerial Declaration turns into agendas and roadmaps, which are multi-stakeholders, let's say, roadmaps or agendas, which we all work on and translate it into action. Now, we cannot just as Secretariat translate it into action. So that, and this is a work that has been done over the past 10 years, means that what we do, and we have been doing even through agendas, as mentioned by Doa, we try to ensure maximum convergence at financial, technical, and political level around the priorities that have been approved by the 43 by consensus. There was, thank you very much also, Arnaud, for sketching out some of the activities that will take place at COP24. As I mentioned on the occasion of the MAP focal point meetings, but also let me repeat it here. For us, you mentioned sustainable blue economy as priority for the next 2 years. Sustainable blue economy is a ministerial declaration itself, and I would like to remind that the first was approved in 2015. So the first UFM ministerial declaration. Since then, we have been having another ministerial declaration in 2021, which has enormously expanded the scope of activities and has become, let's say, a pillar of cooperation at Mediterranean level. So we are happy to see that this is mainstreamed also within other framework. Of course, I mean, the Barcelona Convention more from the environmental side, while, and of course, we operate on healthy oceans and seas, but I mean, with a stronger focus on all the economic activities that are, let's say, placed around it. So with this premise, let me now move very quickly to my presentation. I know perfectly that I have a very limited time, so I will promise I'll just, go very quickly through that. But of course, I mean, I remain available for any other, information or question or clarification that you may need. As I mentioned, the Ministerial Declaration on Environment and Climate Change of 2021, which succeeded one that was held in 2024, focused on three main areas, which are indeed green circular economy, pollution with a focus on prevention, and biodiversity and ecosystem restoration, as it was mentioned. We have another ministerial declaration that was approved on the same year. Actually, 2021 was a very successful year, I would say, in terms of ministerial declaration and commitment by the countries, because we had also this one on sustainable blue economy. And these are all the areas of activities and priorities that we have and that we keep for till the next ministerial, on which, as I said, we are translating and associating projects and activities, including, of course, the Interreg Euromed and the Interreg also NextMed projects as a tool for implementation. This is the roadmap, as I just mentioned, and let's say both mechanisms, the Greener Med Agenda and the Sustainable Blue Economy roadmap, have an associated results-based monitoring, reporting, and evaluation system. So monitoring is the monitoring done by us. The reporting is the reporting by the countries, and evaluation are external evaluation done, let's say, every 4 to 5 years. And we are at a stage where we are just coming out of an important evaluation of these two ministerial that will feed the next ministerial declaration. I will go into that just in a few minutes. I'd like also to mention that, of course, our work as UFM is focused on the regional dimension, but of course, it's the reporting by the countries that links it directly to what's happening at national level. And we see, of course, that this regional, let's say, critical mass is being built, and it helps a lot also at national and then territorial level. How do we operate? Of course, we have, as I mentioned, a sort of intermediate step between the ministerial declaration and the pure projects, which are indeed this regional platform where a strategic and technical decisions are being taken. So for environment, we have a working group on environment as well as the regional platform on environment and climate change. And, sorry, here there is a mistake, and the regional platform on sustainable blue economy. It was already mentioned, it was a very important day thanks to the French government. It was organized on the Mediterranean within the context of UNOC 3. We had the opportunity to focus on sustainable blue economy as it was requested by the French government, as it was the time when the Barcelona Convention was celebrating his 50 years. So they were focusing, of course, on their mandate, which is, as we know, on environmental issues. So on this occasion, and I would like to link also to what Arnaud was saying, we have been launching the first 5 investment projects associated to the BlueMed partnership, which is actually a fund, a tool, financial tool that has been built with the support and, let's say, coordination of different IFIs, EBRD, EAB, AFD, and World Bank and others. So on this occasion, we had, I said, the first 5 projects approved, and interestingly also, because we have been sort of advocating for it, we wanted that this fund could move from the traditional, let's say, environmental investments, which are still there, of course, wastewater, waste plants, and so on, to more innovative one, like, for example, one that was approved precisely on ecosystem restoration in Jordan associated to the tourism sector. We have been participating also, actually organizing the Med Green Week. I'm sorry, I don't know why the slides don't show properly, but doesn't matter. And on this occasion, we focus on three core, let's say, themes: sea level rise, ecosystem restoration, and with a focus on forest and landscape restoration, precisely because UNOC was focused on the marine aspects and indeed on green finance. In addition, we are carrying out many other activities on sustainable food systems, sustainable tourism, circular economy. Let me take the opportunity to say that today, from this afternoon until tomorrow in the evening, we are taken by the launch of the two new projects that are feeding the Plastic Busters initiative on marine litter, which we launched many years ago, and it's progressing, let's say, over time towards a multi-stressor approach. And that, of course, link with the work that UNMAP is doing on the marine litter regional plan, on the work on circular economy, and on the work on the plastic treaty, and you name it. We are also preparing a new, let's say, policy paper. It's not a new, actually, an updated policy paper on marine litter that we will be launching in the very coming weeks. And as far as forest and landscape restoration is concerned, we have been with FAO over the past, let's say, 7 to 8 years, reinforce the multi-regional dimension. We have been seed funding for capacity building and technical assistance, publication, participation, organization of the Mediterranean Forestry Week. I had the pleasure to participate to the, let's say, World Gathering of the Mediterranean Model Forest Network, which has also specific Mediterranean Model Forest Network, which we closely work with, as well as with FEMED on the Young Leadership Program, specifically focus again on forest and landscape restoration. So what is also very important for us within the context of the Barcelona Convention is the side event opportunity to launch the 100 MPAs MED Alliance. We understand that the event is more or less confirmed for the 2nd of December. If the date changes, it's not a problem, but it's an important, let's say, endeavor for the future, as well as all the others that have been mentioned before, including, you know, the regional and technical hub that UCN is coordinating together with the Belgian partner for the Euro-Mediterranean area. I mentioned, of course, that the Interreg Euromed projects are labeled by the UFM in December, and I would like also to highlight your attention on that. Precisely on the 16th of December, we will have the MED Talks. It's the 3rd edition of the MED Talks, when we not only present and discuss, let's say, the outcomes of the Interreg Euromed missions, but we involve all the countries of the South. We know that by default they are not part, but they have been progressively being integrated as associated partners. So, so as to state as our work as Mediterranean region as one, basically. I mentioned the European Pact before. What is very important, we had, as I said, a very dense but very productive regional platform just on the 15 and 16 of October in Brussels. There will be a very important focus on the East Mediterranean. We have been advocating strongly for it. We know that over the past years, within the UFM itself, we launched the West Med, and a lot of attention was given to the West Med. But the East Med has been equally active. So the next years, anyway, will be focused also on the East Med, and most probably an East Med initiative, and for sure assistance mechanism will be displayed. As far as the Pact for the Mediterranean, there is a dedicated section also sustainable blue economy. Environment and green economy are there too, associated, of course, to climate change. This was a core element that we have been, let's say, achieving for the region with the first ministerial declaration on environment and climate change in 2014. So since then, environment and climate change are very strongly, let's say, linked in the policy framework, and we want to maintain it. But again, for the PAC, and view the fact that COP24 is also focusing on sustainable blue economy, please note that there is a dedicated section on it, even in the Pact for the Mediterranean. So these are just flash news and for sure not exhaustive, but I hope that they can help and feed also our reflection. As it was mentioned by Alba, the results, in a certain way, if I understand that this meeting will indeed flow into the event of the 25th. As I mentioned, this is not automatically transferred to the regional forum, as you know. However, I did my best also as head of sector for environment, green and blue economy to have a further association with as much as we could, because of course this is up to the countries. So it's the countries themselves that can underline the importance and the relevance of the work done. So, I mean, I invite you, of course, to ask to your participating countries to highlight the work that the mission have been doing. But there will be one of the 3 events also associated to the regional forum, which the UFM is in charge of, which will be focused on civil society. So in that context, I had opportunity to, let's say, accommodate with other colleagues the participation of one representative of the Interreg Nature Mission. So this will be also a great opportunity for you to pass some of the messages that are, let's say, emerging out of your work. So with this, let me close, and I hope I didn't take too much time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alessandra, for walking us through the different activities the UFM is doing, and but importantly to show us the important role the UFM is playing when it comes to advancing and promoting regional dialogue and cooperation for sustainability in the Mediterranean region through concrete initiatives and agendas such as the Greener Med agenda. Now going back quickly to Alba.
Before, sorry, Doha, just and Alba, sorry for this interruption. I just wanted to conclude with one point, which may be important, of course, for the policy framework, which is the following. It was already mentioned probably, but the UFM is planning actually to have a ministerial on water in March next year in Rome. So let's see if the political situation is actually such that we can move towards that. But the idea is also to move towards the next ministerial declaration, sustainable blue economy and on environment and climate change in 2027. So thank you very much, and sorry for interrupting again. Sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for this important point. And indeed, it will be like a very political and momentum for the regions, since it will be the second ministerial meeting on water after 7 or 8 years. So as I said, going back to Alba quickly to share with us the key messages of the nature heritage message that will be delivered for the regional forum the next 28th of November. Please, Alba.
Thank you, Doha. In fact, they're not going to be delivered like this. Just I want to clarify. I will be very brief, but just to explain a little bit to our partners and to some, especially the colleagues that joined the mission very recently. In April and May, when we had some meetings with Alessandra to see how we can really do an institutional dialogue that can go with this momentum, especially for the Barcelona process. And I remember Alessandra explaining what she explained at the beginning, this delicate moment that the UFM is living right now because of the situation. So in fact, the idea came from her because she suggested to do a little bit a previous work, and position the mission itself in some of the key points that could be raised during this regional forum. At that moment, we didn't know exactly the theme, but I was revising a little bit the last interministerial, the conclusions of the last interministerial meeting, which was in Granada, if I don't remember that, in March, because, you know, the presidency of this last 6 months, and so, you know, the last 6 months when I was checking, you know, was Spain. So the conclusions were that they were still working on the 4 main axes, which were migration, gender, and youth employment, climate change, and peace and security. You know, and so we decide, you know, within the mission that we were going to try to do an exercise, and this is what we've done in Athens in July, last July, in which we really try to do a participatory exercise with the TPs, in which we try to connect our messages as TPs and as mission, you know, in this framework, in these 4 topics, you know. So after this exercise, especially the different partners, we built like very basic but very powerful messages, so that the idea was to pass it to our ministries. You know, you need to know also that in our partnership there is one ministry, the Montenegro's environmental ministry. So we count on them to raise the, you know, to include our messages in their speech during the regional forum. But we also thought that we are in a very good place inside of our countries to pass these messages to our ministries. So once we've got these messages, we shared with the TPs, so to see if there was any red line. But then from September on, we've been working to share these messages to our ministers. For example, from MedCity side, we with IUCN, we shared these messages through AECID and through the Ministry of Environment, Spanish Ministry of Environment, but also as MedCities, we shared these messages to the Mediterranean Parliamentary Assembly, which is an association of all the parliaments of the Mediterranean, in which MedCities is one of, as a member of, as an observer. Also, for example, Plan Bleu was doing a little bit quite the same in France, and every partner has tried to push these messages so that their ministries and the people who are going to go in this regional forum pick some of them and include it in their speech. We don't know how far we've been with that, because we will know it. I think we will know it at the end. We'll know it the 27th or the 28th, sorry, of November. But this has been our strategy, and in parallel, obviously, we're still working with Alessandra and with our policy mechanisms available from our side to continue, you know, building, let's say, a policy environment that still takes care about nature protection, conservation, and valorization. So this is a little bit what I want to share. The TPs has the messages, but if any TP is interested in having the messages, I'm happy to send it again, especially for the new ones. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Alba, for this clarification, and this really gives us a strong baseline to carry forward. Now, let's move to our second session of the day, which will focus on the legal and governance layer, how legislative processes at different levels shape the adoption of nature conservation and restoration policies across the Mediterranean. We are joined by Emanuela Manca from the region of Sardinia and Daniela Adis from Adis Law Firm Environment and Sea. Daniela will walk us through key findings for the recent study and what this means for the missions work moving forward. After the presentation, my colleague Emanuela will open a Mentimeter. I think a link will be should be visible in your screen to collect your views. So you'll be invited to answer a couple of questions, and I'm kindly asking you to pay attention to the presentation because all the questions will be around it. And I think Daniela, the floor is yours to start the presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Doha, and thank you to all. Good morning, everyone. I will first of all share my screen. So please let me know. Not this one. Sorry for that. It doesn't work. It's okay. Please let me know if you see the screen. Can you hear me?
Yes, Daniela, we
Yes.
hear you, and the presentation is loading.
Thank
We
you
see
very much.
we see that it's starting,
Okay, thank you very much. So
but
I may
it's still a black screen. It's coming, I think.
Okay. So please let me know as soon as you can see the screen so I may start my presentation.
It's still loading. If you want me to share the screen instead, I can put up your presentation. Because now we see that it's starting, but it's still stuck on the loading screen.
Still now? Yeah,
Yeah, it's still the same.
still the same. Should I go back and try again, maybe? It said to me that I'm sharing the screen.
Maybe try stop sharing and sharing again. Might be
Okay,
better.
yeah. Sorry for that.
No
We
worries.
tried this morning, everything worked very well, but now, as usual.
We confirm.
Okay. Yeah.
So now I see myself. Okay, now we should be seeing it.
What about now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So good morning again, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to present the results of the legal study. Let me give a special thanks to Emanuela Manca and the team from the Sardinia region, as well as the other project partners and the government representatives who supported this important work. First of all, I would like to say that the study covers a very broad spectrum, both in terms of subject matter, the legal and governance frameworks that affected the implementation of nature and biodiversity policies in the Mediterranean at different levels, the subnational, national, and regional levels, and also for the geographical area, because it concerned the entire Mediterranean, with a specific focus on the coastal marine areas, the national level, regional level, identifying legal obstacles, the so-called bottlenecks, that in their effective policy implementation propose a priority for future action to strengthen governance. Through a multi-level approach, desk analysis, online survey, and depth interviews, as well as a participatory workshop, the study provides a comprehensive legal and governance analysis examining how legislative instruments and spatial governance processes interact, considering the key nature, biodiversity, and climate change policies in force across the Mediterranean countries. The study focuses on the Mediterranean region, recognized as a global biodiversity hotspot with exceptional ecological and cultural value, yet increasingly threatened by human activity as well as climate change. Its protection, so, is crucial for maintaining ecological balance. The geographic scope of the analysis includes the marine coastal zone that is considered in the ICZM, the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Protocol established under the Barcelona Convention. The study integrates comparative case studies from national level, considering Montenegro and Morocco, and regional level, considering Sardinia for Italy and Crete for Greece, representing large Mediterranean islands. This participatory process ensured mutual understanding of key legislative elements, experiences, and best practices highlighted in the study. The analysis focused on three interlinked themes jointly discussed and agreed upon: the protected natural areas, especially marine, a coastal zone established under national law, integrated into nature protection networks, including the management plans. Integrated coastal zone management, the ICZM, principles and practical application of coastal management, particularly in connection with protected areas, and therefore climate change policies, focusing on ecosystem services, biodiversity protection, nature restoration, and their relation to energy policies. The ultimate goal was to analyze legislation within these three areas, highlighting strengths, good practices, and implementation challenges. This comparative approach aimed to provide a basis for shared solutions and improve governance models across the Mediterranean countries. To facilitate the readers, the study, as well as the questionnaire, also includes a list of definitions highlighting the need of a shared glossary to ensure a common understanding of key legal policy and governance concepts among project partners. This legal, let's say, alphabetization was essential for effective collaboration in a context such as nature and biodiversity protection and conservation policies and their effects on climate change. We found that it's essential to adopt as far as possible and then acquire a common language and adopt agreed and shared definitions for the optimal understanding and application of norms and standards. The study distinguishes between governance, legal instruments, and policy instruments. Governance refers to the structures, rules, and processes guiding biodiversity and ecosystem protection at different levels, international to local. Environmental policy defines strategies and tools used by governments or organizations to address environmental challenges. Legal instruments such as laws, regulations, but also treaties on the international level are binding rules set by legislators that enforce policy objectives through standards and sanctions. The policy instruments, such as strategies, white or green papers, and plans, are non-binding tools from the executive branch that set goals and direction for government action. So let's say that policies set frameworks and goals, and laws specify implementation methods and penalties for their non-compliance. The glossary also includes key thematic definitions, such as climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, coastal zone, the interface between land and sea as defined by national boundaries, protected area, a designated space managed for conservation, for instance, Natura 2000 sites, marine protected areas, that means a marine or coastal area given legal protection for biodiversity, nature-based solutions, ecosystem-based action that address societal and environmental challenges. Other effective area-based conservation measures, or OESMM, the non-designated areas achieving long-term biodiversity outcomes. Governance skills were also defined. A definition for the Posidonia was given as well, specifying that sedimented Posidonia is the preferred term for coastal accumulation of this vital Mediterranean seagrass, emphasizing its ecological role rather than viewing it as a waste. The analysis looks at the political and legal frameworks that shape how nature, biodiversity, and climate change are governed, from the international level to European Mediterranean context. It shows how complex and overlapping these policies are and how stronger coherence and coordination are usually needed. Despite many ambitious goals for marine and coastal protection, implementation remains challenging due to fragmented competencies, for example, between the European Union common fishery policy and broader biodiversity objectives. Key frameworks include the UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the CBD, the Convention on Biodiversity, the EU policies, and the Barcelona Convention system, all promoting accountability, cooperation, and marine protection. The Mediterranean approach integrates regional cooperation, European Union environmental law, focusing on ecosystem-based management and sustainable marine use. Effective implementation relies on coordinated governance and cross-border collaboration, pollution control and biodiversity protection, including marine protected areas and special protected areas for Mediterranean interest, integrated coastal zone management and the maritime spatial planning, adequate funding, stakeholder engagement, and compliance. The analysis examines European and Mediterranean policies on nature, biodiversity, and climate change, outlining their main frameworks and strategies. At the European level, policies such as the European Green Deal, the 8th Environment Action Programme, and biodiversity climate strategies drive sustainability, carbon neutrality, and ecosystem restoration. At the Mediterranean level, frameworks like post-2020 SAP-BIO, MSSD 2016-25, regional MPA strategy promote regional cooperation, sustainable use, and transformative governance for biodiversity protection. Together, these frameworks aim to achieve climate neutrality, biodiversity recovery, and sustainable marine governance through cross-border cooperation, legal innovation, and integrated ecosystem approaches. The political context reflects a comprehensive multi-level governance framework from the European Union to the regional Mediterranean initiatives focused on climate neutrality, ecosystem restoration, and sustainable development. The strategies collectively aim to integrate environmental, social, and economic goals, promote coordinated governance, and strengthen legal, financial, and institutional capacity for effective biodiversity and climate action in the Mediterranean region. The international legal framework for marine, coastal, and biodiversity protection is built on a series of key global conventions and agreements that define state responsibilities, cooperation mechanisms, and environmental standards. Key treaties include, we also already said, the UNCLOS and the new BBNJ Treaty, the Treaty on Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, MARPOL, CBD, the Convention on Biodiversity, cities, and regional agreements like ECOBANS. Together, they regulate marine activities, establish conservation standards, and promote sustainable use of biodiversity. These emerging framework and implementation tools emphasize state obligation to protect the marine environment, scientific and cooperative governance, environmental assessment, such as environmental impact assessment and strategic environmental assessment, also the high sea, for informed decision-making, public participation and transparency under the Aarhus Convention. The Mediterranean region operates under a multi-layer system of legal institutional frameworks that combine regional cooperation through the Barcelona Convention system and its protocols with European Union environmental and biodiversity legislation. Together, they create a multi-layer governance framework for protecting marine and coastal ecosystems, ensuring sustainable resource use, and advancing biodiversity restoration and climate goals. Together, these instruments aim to coordinate cross-border governance, control pollution and human pressures, protect biodiversity through marine protected areas and special protected areas of Mediterranean importance, implement ICSDM MSP for sustainable use of coastal marine space, align with global biodiversity and climate goals under the JBF and Paris Agreement. However, effective implementation depends on policy coherence, adequate funding, stakeholder participation, strong compliance mechanisms across all levels of governance. Key components include the Regional Fisheries Management, JFCM, for sustainable fishing, the Barcelona Convention and its protocols as the main legally binding regional framework, plus from the European legal framework, the European Union directives, such as the Habitat Spirit Directive, the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, the Framework Water Directive, the MSP, ensuring environmental protection and integrated spatial planning, the European Union Restoration Climate laws for achieving neutrality and ecosystem recovery, and public participation mechanisms reinforcing transparency and stakeholder inclusion. The study shows also that while international European Union and Mediterranean laws set clear rules to protect the marine environment, implementation remains a big challenge. Coordination is often poor, governance is fragmented, and institutions sometimes lack a full understanding of the rules. Mediterranean countries organize maritime powers differently, some centralized like Morocco, others shared across regions like Italy, which adds complexity. European Union membership brings additional obligation, but also more layers of regulation. Even with strong frameworks like the European Union directives and the Barcelona Convention, marine biodiversity is still under pressure. Overfishing is about twice the sustainable levels. Fully protected marine protected areas cover only 1%, and conservation funding is limited. Natura 2000 and marine protected areas networks are often fragmented and incomplete. So the message is clear. The policies are there, but turning them into effective action is still the main challenge for achieving sustainable seas and UN SDG 14, life below water. In the Mediterranean, marine and coastal protection remains limited, and even only 8.3% of the region is covered by marine and coastal protected areas, and street protection is just 0.06%. No ICM has been reported, and protection is concentrated in the western and northern Mediterranean. Key barriers include weak political will, insufficient funding, lack of trained personnel, poor coordination, and gaps in monitoring and enforcement. Reporting under the Barcelona Convention is declining, and while SSDM principles are included in national plans, actual management remains weak. Overall, there is a clear gap between legal ambition and practical implementation. Coastal and marine ecosystems are still overexploited and underprotected, showing the urgent need for stronger governance, better resources, and effective integration of environmental and sectoral policies. So what are the available legal and policy options and proposals for action and priorities for action? The Mediterranean faces critical biodiversity decline we are seeing despite robust legal frameworks. The European Union Nature Restoration Regulation adopted in 2024 and the Barcelona Convention system provide strong foundations for restoring the degraded ecosystem and achieving climate resilience. The main challenge lies in implementation, financing, governance coherence, not in legislative gaps. Key pathways include strengthening governance, monitoring, and stakeholder participation, scaling nature-based solutions and environmental contracts, ensuring long-term financing through trust funds and innovative instruments, integrating biodiversity objectives into spatial and economic planning. Across Europe, nature is under serious pressure. More than 80% of our habitats are in poor condition, and the Mediterranean is no exception. The European Union Nature Restoration Regulation adopted in 2024 is a milestone, a real opportunity to reverse biodiversity loss and build climate resilience. But as well, I'll know the real challenge now is not policy, it's implementation. That's exactly what our strategic priorities aim to address. First, we need to strengthen governance and coordination. This means breaking down barriers linking ICZM, marine spatial planning, Natura 2000 more effectively. Tools like Memorandum of Understanding, Natura, National Biodiversity Monitoring System, and joint work programs can really make cooperation more concrete. Second, securing sustainable financing. Long-term success will depend on mechanisms such as MedFund, public-private partnerships, carbon credits, ecosystem valuation. And crucially, we must start integrating biodiversity and natural capital into both national budget and corporate finance decisions. Third, promoting participatory tools. Environmental contracts for river, coasts, and wetlands are powerful examples. They connect authorities, NGOs, and local communities in a shared commitment to restore ecosystem and manage resources sustainably. Participation builds ownership, and ownership builds lasting impact. Finally, advancing monitoring and adaptive management. We need site-specific management plans built on solid data and regular evaluation. Connectivity planning, linking protected areas across landscapes and seascapes is essential to ensure ecological coherence. So the key message is simple. We have the right legal framework, the right tools, the right science so far, but implementation remains the central challenge. Only through coordinated action, liquid financing, and inclusive governance can we achieve a resilient and thriving Mediterranean for future generations. Let's have a look also to the key focus areas from a regional level. Sardinia. Sardinia for Italy offers an important case study for Mediterranean marine and coastal governance. The region has a solid policy framework, but still faces challenges in coordination and implementation. Following Italy's 2022 constitutional reform, which made environmental protection a fundamental principle, Sardinia adopted two key strategies, the Climate Change Adaptation Strategy and Sardinia 2030, both aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Sardinia also boasts an extensive Natura 2000 network with 128 sites, many of them coastal or marine, integrated with marine protected areas and national parks. However, despite this strong foundation, management remains fragmented with gaps in funding and enforcement. Climate change, invasive species, tourism continue to pressure fragile ecosystems such as Posidonia, meadows, dunes, and lagoons. So overall, Sardinia shows how solid strategies exist, but turning them into effective action remains a key challenge. In Sardinia, one of the most innovative approaches is the use of river and coastal contracts, voluntary participatory agreements that bring together local authorities, communities, and stakeholders to jointly manage coastal and wetland areas. They promote shared responsibility, though their implementation has been uneven due to political and technical limits. To strengthen governance, a new regional law is being developed to modernize protected area management, improve coordination, integrate climate adaptation ecosystem services into planning. At the same time, European projects are introducing nature-based solutions and more participatory management models. Sardinia's work on Posidonia oceanica also shows the challenge of balancing tourism with ecosystem protection under the 2020 regional law. Overall, Sardinia has strong legal foundations and a clear strategic vision, but coordination and resources remain weak. Still, its growing focus on participation, innovation, integration points toward a more resilient and inclusive coastal governance model. The other key focus area from a regional base is Crete for Greece. Crete is an interesting case when it comes to Mediterranean environmental governance. The island has a strong legal foundation. Greece's constitution and key national laws on environmental protection, biodiversity, and licensing all set clear obligations for both the state and citizens. Around 1/3 of Crete is part of the Natura 2000 network, a national principle are applied locally through spatial environmental studies that guide future management plans. At the regional level, several planning tools for water, spatial development, and climate adaptation work together under the Operational Plan 2024-28 to turn strategies into action. Still, one major gap remains: the ICZM. While Greece has a national marine spatial strategy, Crete doesn't yet have a fully integrated coastal plan, meaning land and sea policies are not always aligned. Overall, Crete shows how strong governance, planning instruments, and international commitments can come together, but also how better coordination, especially along the coast, will be key to ensuring long-term ecological resilience. The key focus areas on national level is Montenegro and Morocco. Montenegro, aiming to join the European Union by 2028, is reforming its environmental laws to align with European international standards. Its framework is based on three main laws on nature protection, the environment, and marine environment, which regulate biodiversity, coastal management, and monitoring. These laws have enabled the creation of four marine protected areas, including Platamuni, Catich, and Stariuncini. Environmental governance involves national local authorities, agencies, and active NGOs, and is strongly influenced by the Barcelona Convention and in particular the ICZM protocol. The national ICZM strategy is expected to be adopted soon. Montenegro has also developed several strategies on climate, low carbon development, and marine protection, supported by National Environmental Information System, While progress is clear, challenges remain, especially funding enforcement, data gaps, but the European Union section and regional cooperation offers strong opportunities to strengthen natural restoration, expand marine protected areas, promote sustainable coastal management. Morocco has developed a strong and modern legal framework for biodiversity protection, coastal management, and climate action. Grounded in its 2011 constitution, the system is built around three main laws: on protected areas, coastline environmental assessment, ensuring that conservation, development, and public participation go hand in hand. In January 2025, Morocco took a major step by establishing 5 new marine protected areas, showing real progress toward global biodiversity goals. Its integrated coastal zone management approach, introduced by the 2015 coastal law, promotes coordination between land and sea planning with successful projects like the Tanger Tatuna or Oseima Coastal Plan. On climate policy, Morocco has integrated adaptation and ecosystem resilience into national strategies through a dedicated adaptation law is still pending. Overall, Morocco stands out for its solid legal base, international cooperation, and participatory approach, even as it continues to face challenges in coordination and enforcement. For the thematic focus, 4 project working groups were called to compile questionnaire aiming on indications and suggestions on legal instruments, policies, experiences, and examples relevant for their respective working group, focusing on 4 key areas: area-based conservation, climate change adaptation, biodiversity, ecosystem services, and ecosystem restoration. In summary, Mediterranean countries are progressively aligning legal frameworks, regional cooperation, and financial instruments to achieve a shared vision, a healthy, resilient, and sustainably managed Mediterranean sea and coast. We also did an online survey, which collected expert input from across the Mediterranean to understand how legal instruments, policies influence natural and biodiversity conservation, with a focus on 4 main themes: area-based conservation, ICDM, climate change adaptation, governance, and implementation. Key findings show that the Mediterranean countries employ a wide range of legal and policy tools at international, European Union, national, and local levels. For instance, Croatia applies eco-mooring systems and seasonal fishing bans, while Portugal and Croatia have strong legal frameworks aligned with the European Union Habitats and Birds Directive to support natural restoration. However, management effectiveness tools for protected areas and ICM, although available, are not consistently in use. Financially, conservation efforts rely on a mix of national funds, European Union programs, and NGOs initiatives. In terms of ICZM, several countries such as Cyprus, Portugal, Slovenia, and Albania have already integrated coastal management principles into their national strategies, promoting coordinated and sustainable coastal governance. When addressing climate change adaptation, most Mediterranean states now have national strategies that explicitly include marine and coastal resilience. Ecosystem restoration and nature-based solutions are also advising linking environmental protection with sustainable economic opportunities. Nonetheless, risks remain, including greenwashing, monoculture restoration, and exclusion of local communities. Experts emphasize the need for stronger legal safeguards, scientific rigor, and inclusive participation. Finally, participatory approaches are gaining ground. Governments, local communities, and civil society organizations are increasingly collaborating in the design and implementation of conservation policies. In summary, while Mediterranean countries show strong commitment and progress, consistent implementation, funding, and community engagement remain key to achieving long-term effective conservation outcomes. The participatory workshop on governance at the regional level took place on 11 June 2025 in Cagliari, in Sardinia, in collaboration with the Autonomous Region of Sardinia. Its goal was to analyze regional governance strategies related to natural biodiversity and climate change, assess bottlenecks and best practices, and encourage dialogue among local stakeholders. Participants included representatives from regional and municipal administration. This participatory approach allowed for the identification of gaps, achievements, and opportunities for improvement in local management systems. From the discussions, 3 main themes emerged: beach use, need for awareness campaign, regulations against mechanical cleaning, and promotion of natural beach conditions as part of sustainable tourism. Secondly, concession and sanctions, stronger monitoring, inclusion of environmental criteria in concession, and strict penalties for non-compliance. Thirdly, institutional roles, greater interagency coordination, dedicated regional funding, and harmonized guidelines for managing Posidonia and other sensitive habitats. Overall, the workshop fostered a shared understanding of coastal challenges and laid the foundation for collaborative governance, integrating legal, ecological, and participatory approaches to protect Sardinia's natural heritage. Let's see, finally, proposal and priorities for actions. The description of priorities for proposed actions presents a comprehensive set of recommendations designated to overcome key legal, governance, and implementation barriers to effective environmental management in all the Mediterranean region. These priorities emerge from an integrated process combining legal and policy analysis, consultation with national and regional authorities, expert advice, and the outcomes of the regional governance workshop. The first priority focuses on the management of protected areas. It recommends strengthening existing structures, such as Natura 2000 sites, ensuring that management responsibilities are clearly delegated to local authorities under well-defined agreements, avoiding unnecessary bureaucracy and improving monitoring systems. The second priority is the establishment of a permanent technical secretariat for river and coastal contracts. This will support implementation monitoring link projects to existing funding mechanisms, promote public-private co-management models that enhance accountability and sustainability. Thirdly, targets the integrated coastal zone management, SZM, calling for the creation of comprehensive regional coastal and sediment strategies. These frameworks should align with the European Union restoration policy, strengthen resilience, and encourage active participation from local communities and scientists. Further priorities include sustainable beach management through awareness campaigns, bans of mechanical cleaning, and natural promotion of coastal areas. Clear regulation and strict enforcement regarding Posidonia management and beach concession, including assessment procedures and such as the environmental assessment. Enhance institutional coordination among regional and national bodies, improve legal frameworks, financial support, and monitoring tools, and greater community engagement, science-based restoration, and cross-sector collaboration to promote sustainable economic opportunities, such as ecotourism and nature-based solutions. In summary, these proposed actions emphasize governance efficiency, scientific integrity, and inclusive participation as essential pillars for ensuring the long-term protection and resilience of the Mediterranean's marine and coastal ecosystem. It took a little while to expose all the legal study because it was a huge analysis made only in 6 months, but thanks to the collaboration to all the participants, we made it. And now it's time for question and answers and comments. And I thank you very much for your attention. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for this insightful key findings and sharing with us the complexity of the different legislative processes at different levels around the Mediterranean. I don't know if Emanuela will share now the Mentimeter, or we give space to the questions and answers.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We can use the Mentimeter to collect the questions. So
Okay, so Emanuela, please, over to you to share the Mentimeter and everything. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I'm sharing, and in the chat you'll find a link to connect and see and join us on Mentimeter. Can you see my screen? The Mentimeter area?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So if you go in the link or you digit menti.com and you type this code 32166364, you will join us, and we can work together throughout this tool. Okay, so we go ahead, and the first question is just an open question. So We ask you or to raise your hand and ask for the question with your voice, and or if you prefer, you can drop your question here. Yes, the study is available, and we want to thank you really, Carol Carol Martinez from Plan Bleu, because she already told us that we have something to integrate for sure. So Mediterranean is going ahead from this point of view. Okay, so anyone is raising his hand? I can see hands or.
Yes, Carol has raised her hand.
Thank you. Thank you
Also
so
a question
much.
in the chat.
Do you hear me well?
Yes, Carol, we can hear you.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations for this very thorough analysis. It's very valuable to have such an overview. I dare to make few comments because I believe it will add to this very interesting study. From a policy point of view, we may need to include the target 2 of the Commune Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. It's about restoration, and you know it's a growing policy issues with the adoption of the EU nature restoration regulation, but as well at the Mediterranean level is a real important area of work. MEPON is working on this, providing not only guidelines, but as well capacity building support. And we also soon as well financial support. And it's a key question that has been actually discussed in the framework of the Barcelona Convention. To have a dedicated action plan on marine and coastal restoration at the whole Mediterranean level. So it's something that won't be immediately addressed at the next conference of parties, but it's something that is discussed at the level of the focal point meetings at the SPARAC. So I believe it will be useful to have this reference and analysis on the target 2.
So we can hear anymore, Carol. Maybe she's got some problems with the connection. So, okay, I'm reading Flaminia Squitieri that is highlighting, so it's saying thank you to Daniela, and as a Sardinia region, and I guess as a partnership too, we want to thank hello Daniela and her team that supported us in the study. And yes, thank you, Flaminia, for highlighting that the Intereconomic Coast Trust project is working on promoting coastal stewardship in Domus de Maria, which is a very important municipality in Sardinia, because they include a very precious area of the coastal area. And the question that I can see on Mentimeter you dropped here, was the local workshop part of the study? Absolutely, yes. We did this workshop here in Sardinia, and it was very useful. The people that participated were very interested, and they let us know the achievements they are carrying on every day. Daniela, do you want to add something about it?
Thank you, Manuela. Actually, yeah, the workshop in Sardinia was very useful, and this is part of our job, and understanding that we can study, we can read all the legal documents, policy documents, but it's very, very important to interface with the people that work directly on how to implement these instruments at different levels. This is fundamental, as well as I try to highlight during my presentation. What is lacking is the implementation that is strictly related to the understanding, the correct understanding of all these tools. They are quite many, quite complex, not complicated, but complex. So the complexity needs to be managed, utilizing as far as possible these tools that we already have, online workshops, but also in presence meetings. Thank you, Emanuela. But for sure, we took it into account during our study. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. And yes, Christophe is highlighting that Wetland for Change is working as well in the Oristano area. And yes, we are in touch with Metsi Foundation, and you also participated to the workshop they did in May, presenting Dire for Nature and also the mission of natural heritage. So yes, thank you, Christophe, for reminding us this, and absolutely we will work together. And Alice from Plan Bleu is reminding us that also Incor Med project is working with our region in Sardinia through marine spatial planning processes. And absolutely, Carol, yes, because the line drops. So if you want to add something, just take the floor again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
apologize for the technical glitch. We had a short internet cut. No, I was saying that in addition, MedPan has elaborated with its members and partners a wide range of policy recommendations addressing several topics. So it's maybe something to consider, and I'm happy to share the policy paper as well, or 2030 roadmap that includes as well recommendation. So happy to collaborate. But congratulations again for this very useful work.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you to all the team of MedPan. We are very happy to collaborate with you always, because you're always working on something very effective at local level, and we really need it. And thank you also to Giancarlo Busmaroli, which is reminding us, as well as WeGo COP, still in touch, of course, with them. And yeah, the forum, the Mediterranean Forum on Wetlands Contracts, the 5th and the 6th November in Marseille. So yes, absolutely, we will try to join online. Us and everybody, of course, is invited. And Artemis project, also operating in Sardinia and Posidonia. Thank you. And we remind that is Sardinia coordinated this study, but we are very happy to welcome to learn from all the regions of the Mediterranean. So that's the purpose, the main purpose. So we can go ahead, and of course you are very welcome to let us know other tips, because the study, now we will close and share the study, adding the MedPan contribution, absolutely. And our project Dire for Nature is going ahead, so we are keep on working on this. So please keep on following us. You saw that we have plenty of activities, and we just trust that this study can be a useful tool to keep on working together on Mediterranean conservation. So another question we wanted to ask you. So you can see on the link of Mentimeter, just to highlight what are the main results of the study. We ask you to rank these key priorities, so putting the first, the second, and the third one, knowing that all of them are, of course, very important, but we want to understand from you which are the key priorities areas for you. So please reply on the link on Mentimeter. I will copy and paste again just to be sure you all have it. Okay, you can keep on replying. Meanwhile, we will show that the results are these ones. So the first key priority area is protected areas, strengthen Natura 2000 sites management, delegate local responsibilities. And we have some good example going on right now or around the Mediterranean. And the second one is river and coastal contracts create permanent secretariat funding and co-management. Integrated coastal zone management, develop regional sediment and coastal frameworks and ensure participation. And last but not least at all, sustainable beach use. So awareness, ban mechanisms, cleaning, promote natural beaches. Okay, so thank you. And let's go to the other one. Here we are asking you to express your level of agreement or disagreement with this priority for action. So these are, again, some of the main results of the study.
Excuse me, Manuela. I don't know, maybe you should share again the link so they will have access to this, so the audience can have access to the to this question, please. Thank you.
It's in the chat. I do it again. In the chat, you can find the link. If you click, you go straight to the Mentimeter tool, or you can visit, you can type menti.com and add the use code, which is here, 32166364. But I can see that 54 persons are connected. And answers are coming. I'm not showing the answers straight away, so we're not influencing too much. Okay, now there are a lot. We can see. So the main agreements are on legal and financial strengthening, harmonized frameworks, secure long-term fundings, community involvement, empower local actors' participation in restoration. Always 3.2, cross-sector collaboration, link governments, academia, civil society, and private sector. Now community involvement, again, the first in terms of level of agreement, but also clear regulation for Posidonia and concessions. And of course, you all agree, nobody is disagreeing on these priority for actions. Okay, thank you. Now, of course, we are going to ask you if you'd like to suggest other priority actions. So you can write it. Yes, Plan Bleu is reminding us that for the first question, of course, we don't really have to wait because they are all important. This was just an exercise to better focus and to understand what, from your point of view, so from the priority in terms of local needs, because of course they are all very important. Local needs and sometimes also local opportunities, because sometimes even if we know that something is very important, we don't have the possibility to work on it. So this was the reason why we just asked for this question. But yes, absolutely, everything we are speaking about is very, very important, and we really hope to work following an integrated approach in terms of topics and also in terms of stakeholders. That's why we are here networking every day. So another priority action suggested is improved legal compliance mechanisms for improving accountability for environmental degradation, consistency of legal framework at the national level and EU levels, improvement of the MEC legal workshop on climate change, resilience and restoration, raise awareness and environmental sustainability of anthropogenic action through target campaign, more control mechanisms. So Daniela, if you want to add something about this, or all of our partners and everybody, of course, can comment, just raise your hand and the floor is yours.
Yeah, may I, Manuela?
Of course.
Yeah,
Please.
thank you. So first of all, I see the comments improve legal compliance mechanism. This is quite usual to have comments such as this one. Also, I will take this chance to give you an information about the next COP24 of Barcelona Convention that is going to take place in Cairo, because for the first time there is going to be the second day on the 3rd of December, a specific side event on the Compliance Committee. The Compliance Committee of the Barcelona Convention, as well as other Compliance Committee. In particular, this side event was organized because lots of people doesn't really know how the compliance mechanism works, if and how works the compliance committee within the international conventions as well as in the national legal framework. So this is very interesting, important. Maybe we can, or you can organize a specific meeting on this subject, because it's quite interesting and important, especially how we want to evolve the legal framework together with the policy framework to have in one way monitoring, but also the control on how these legal instruments are applied, are implemented, and how we can support all the parties to be to be compliant. This is my main comment on this suggested priority actions. I see that these priority actions are quite many. So maybe if we have any time, maybe we can take the chance to have the comments of the person that has raised this proposal. Thank you, Manuela.
Yes, maybe we can go ahead, and then before closing the webinar, we can come back. So we want still time to the other speakers, but as we are very happy to share more, to chat more, and to go deeper. So among the other actions, we also have a co-management models gender dimension, support the centrality of environmental protection and democracy, now in competence with military expensive and authoritarian trends. So true. Harsher sanctions for environmental ecosystem destruction and better monitoring mechanisms on all levels. Again, we keep on working on this. You can share with us through your emails or chats. Focus on good governance for existing protected areas, including Natura 2000 sites, rather than an arbitrary 30% on paper parks. Yeah, that's really true. We have many of these discussions again on all our tables.
May I add something, Manuela?
Yes, please.
Yes,
meanwhile, I leave the new, I mean, the new and the last question: what is the biggest challenge you see in translating the environmental legal policy into concrete actions on the ground based on legislative gaps and obstacles? So meanwhile, Daniela will speak. You can start on answering to this last question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Manuela. I didn't clarify that the legal study, yes, of course, is done. It was completed at the end of June. So we did this analysis during 6 months, and the legal study is completed. But it doesn't mean it's ended. this is probably a starting point. And from today, we see that many questions were raised and many other subjects should be deeply analyzed. So, of course, we with my with my team, we are very happy to support you in the next month if you need so, to better analyze or elaborate some specific subject that are coming out from the legal study or other questions that you may raise. This is what I wanted to specify and clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela, again. And the biggest challenge, of course, budget, monies, and the lack of political will. We are working so much from this point of view. And the institutional dialogues are going again through this direction. So we really invite you to be with us in the next meetings. Be able to create shared governance and involve every stakeholder into concrete action on the ground. Divergent political interests, overlapping competencies, and long administrative procedures that hinder effective implementation, conflicts with the other policies and priorities. This is another very important goal, to integrate the policy coherence is something that we are working on at European level. We have a strong activity going on from this point of view. At Sardinia region, we are organizing now with the OECD throughout the technical support instrument, a laboratory on the policy coherence, because it's something very, very, very useful and important, and also difficult, but still, let's do it together. Institutional fragmentation and capacity. Empowerment of local authorities and local communities. For example, in Tunisia, fishers set up not take zone, but they have no legal status. Those zones can be protected correctly. This is what at local level we have to do. Go together to work with the people that are living every day. So, of course, fishermen are the first population with all the species living in the sea. So absolutely, a strong collaboration is so important. National and local adoption of international policies or lack thereof, as well as lack of monitoring on a later stage. The main challenge is turning local commitments into real action, limited by funding, political will, and fragmented governance. Okay, let's see if you wrote something in the chat too. Yeah, okay. So we really, really, really thank you for this session. And again, keep in touch, keep on working together, keep sharing your experiences, questions, and tips and everything. And I give back the floor to Doha. And good work to everybody.
Thank you so much, Emanuela. Thank you so much, Daniela, and for the audience for this insightful comments and remarks that will feed directly into the recommendation we are shaping later. So without further ado, let's move towards the next session, which is the heart of today's webinar, which will be around gathering and refining policy recommendations on terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems. Before presenting the TPs, I would like to inform you that I will be co-facilitating this session with my colleagues Alice and Arnaud. I just want to before calling the thematic projects, I will give the floor to them. We will start with we will start with Wet Lands for Change project that will be presented by Christoph Schroeder, GIS and Environmental Research from the European Topic Center on Spatial Analysis and Synthesis at the University of Malaga. and Antonio Camacho, a professor at the University of Valencia. We have also strategy Med 4 that will be presented by Nieves Gracia Pablos, Integrated Biodiversity Assessment Officer in the European Topic Center on Spatial Analysis and Synthesis at the University of Malaga. We have also WIGCUP project that will be presented by Giancarlo Gosmaroli from MedWet. And last but not least, Local for FLAD that will be presented by Meritxell Abril, researcher at Beta of the University of Vic. So after each presentation, we'll open the floor to highlight key recommendation and discuss shared priorities. And my colleagues, Alice and Arnaud, will share guiding questions. So I would like to call Christophe.
Hello.
Start
Good morning.
Please.
Yeah, thank you, Doha. I already shared the screen, so we take advantage of the time. I'm Christoph Schröder, University of Malaga. Also, my colleague is here, Antonio Camacho. He needs to leave very soon. I don't know whether he will finally do also his part, or whether will taken over by Carlos. So we want to share with you. We thought about it. Well, we're not so far to have real policy recommendation, but at least to give some insights on barriers and opportunities for policy uptake of our wetland climate solutions. Let me see. Okay, yeah, this moves wonderful. So we don't go too much into details of the project, just a bit of the project in a nutshell. The most important point is that we have the project outputs which relate to 2 wetland-based solutions for carbon sequestration for flood regulation in 5 pilot sites across the Mediterranean, pilot sites in Bulgaria, Greece, Italy, France, and Spain, based on our project partnership. And this is delivered through an experimental transnational hub for wetland climate solutions as a mechanism for coordination and learning, which should facilitate exchange and joint testing with stakeholders and harmonization of approaches across the partnership. But before going into presenting very shortly a solution, how from these solutions we extract our at least insights into how this could feed policy, we wanted to give a very short overview of the framework and context that has led us to work on this topic. I don't know whether Antonio, you're still there. If not, I give the floor to his colleague Carlos.
Basically, my name is Antonio Camacho. I'm the head of the Limnology department at the University of Valencia. Carlos worked with me.
Excuse me, Carlos. The sound is really not good. I don't know if I'm the only one having trouble with the sound.
Can you hear me now?
That's good.
Much better. Thank you very much, Carlos.
Yeah, I'm Antonio.
Sorry, I was reading your name because Carlos.
Carlos is during the whole seminar. I am involved in 2 more minutes, so it's Antonio Camacho, the head of the Limnology department at the University of Valencia. What about the greenhouse gases abatement related to the mitigation of climate change by the action of wetlands? Okay, basically, some ideas is that wetlands behave differently according to the characteristics. So not all wetlands are net emitters or net sinks, but it depends very much on the ecological features. So first, you need to know how your wetland type works, also from the biogeochemical point of view, and which of the components of those wetlands, the biological communities, but also the abiotic processes, how all this interacts to give you a balance of the potential of the wetland for mitigation of climate change through GHG's abatement. But this natural functioning is modulated by the pressures and the impacts those wetlands experience in such a way that with the alteration of the conservation status, they can change their capacity. So the capacity for offering this climate change mitigation service changes according to the ecological, the conservation status of the wetland. Further, this can be even more exacerbated in the different climate change scenarios. So all these are factors that has to be taken into account to assess what is the effect, the specific effect of management actions, scenarios, geographical, also socioeconomic scenarios, and the way we apply the conservation actions and the way we design the restoration plans. Because depending on the type of actions and how they affect the natural behavior of the wetland, this can be positive in the sense of increasing the capacity of wetlands to mitigate climate change, or can be the contrary. They could even be worse if they are not well designed. So at the end, this has to be balanced with all the ecosystem services of the wetland in such a way that you are not decreasing, for instance, services like the biodiversity support. So there is a kind of a red line, or other which are also necessary for the wetlands with the population around, etc. So increasing the climatic services must be balanced with the sustenance or even the increase of other ecosystem services. Then how this links to higher level, to policies, in the sense that the role of wetlands for climate change mitigation should be integrated, not only considering the conservation policies, but also the climatic role of those wetlands and also other types of ecosystem. But then, if you want to get resources for increasing the capacity for restoring, for preserving this needs money, and a way to do that is what we have been designing with other colleagues, a methodology that could transform the restoration actions and the management actions into carbon credits in such a way that carbon credits, as other environmental credits, could also help in the restoration or in the conservation of wetlands, also with a focus on their ecosystem services, in such a way that we are providing the society, we are responding to the requirements of the society for ecosystem management and restoration in such a way that the whole planet, but also the humans, are taking benefit of those actions. So that's the context. And particularly for, in the next one, Christoph, particularly for the greenhouse gas mitigation through well restoration solutions, we are aware that not everyone have too much information about the parameters that are needed. So we designed a methodology that is based on different tiered approaches. You can apply the methodology even if you have just very simple data like land cover data. Then you apply factors by default that we can provide. Or if you have more detailed information, that's type 1. Type 2 is if you have more detailed information about the different components of the wetlands, the biotic and abiotic part, then the coefficients you apply could be more specific, and then you can use techniques like remote sensing or other related to mapping to refine the estimation. And the tier 3 is then when you make your measurements yourself. So that means that you are able to measure specifically greenhouse gases fluxes exchanges. So all 3 are applicable depending on the level of information and the capacity you have. But we have ensured that with a very minimum information, you can apply this greenhouse gas mitigation capacity of wetlands linked to wetland conservation and restoration, such a way that it doesn't depend very much on your capacity for obtaining the information, but on your capacity to use the level of information you have to apply these kind of solutions. So that's in summary. Then, Christoph.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for this for covering this part. Just very brief on the second solution. Wetland for Change is working on more on the climate adaptation part, which relates to assessing wetlands' capacity to regulate floods. Obviously, also a very key issue in the Mediterranean, as we've seen over the last years, where we provide a mapping and assessment methodology for flood regulation capacity measurement to identify priority zones for restoration and protection, and serve users at river basin level with these kind of information. And now we'll go to the opportunities and barriers for policy uptake, which we have identified. And please, Doha, you can stop me if we take too much time. But I try to summarize it as much as possible. So we have, through previous project, but also obviously the project implementation so far in the part of climate mitigation, which Antonio has summarized, achieved results that indicate that there is quantitative evidence between the link of ecological recovery, so restoration activities, with climate mitigation benefits. We can see that the recovery enhances CO2 uptake and long-term carbon storage. We see here also that disturbed and drained wetlands act as GHG sources. So we have clear indications, science-based indications for management and policy making that restoration in general, and also which types of restoration is effective in terms of climate mitigation. We have translated, or we are translating it currently, into a decision support tool, so a management matrix which links the long list of restoration measures with the climate mitigation potential, but also, as Antonio highlighted, biodiversity and ecosystem service, other ecosystem service delivery, in order to help policymakers visualize trade-offs and benefits, co-benefits among the different restoration and management options. This is based on the concrete implementation measurements that we are doing in the project. Through this, we hope to also feed this information, this decision support to the actions that are taking place in the context of the nature restoration regulation, as well as the Green Deal. We have identified, I won't go into details, but we have identified different key institutional, technical, and financial barriers, also some enabling conditions that we have extracted from the local stakeholder events that are taking place at the different pilot areas. And this mirror quite well what we have discussed in the previous session regarding lack of coordination, lack of governance, right governance setting. But we are looking also very specifically, there's a lack of data, there's a lack of skills, there's a lack of equipment when it comes to monitoring what is happening actually in our wetlands, and how restoration actions affect what restoration effects do we have in terms of GHG fluxes, but also flood regulation capacity. Very much in a nutshell, in order not to leave too few time for the rest of the speakers. And finally, we want to propose out of our project activities few ways that Wetland for Change has to leverage its findings for cross-border collaboration. They are actually very focused on two, which is one is on establishing a harmonized science-based knowledge base. So as I said before, there's a lack of data, there's a lack of capacity, there's a lack of data. So we need methodologies, scientifically based methodologies. We have worked on a preliminary technical guidelines that are of interest for wetland managers, but also policymakers. And this methodology will be, the consolidated versions will be published at the end of the project. And we're creating a wetland geoportal in order to provide consistent and harmonized information on wetland location, extent, condition, etc., etc. So it's one part is knowledge base. The other part is fostering transnational governance and transfer mechanisms like capacity building. So we're working on a transfer plan to translate the project tools into accessible implementable actions, so to build a bridge between the policies and how to implement it, and we're working on a lot of capacity building and stakeholder engagement activities in the pilot sites that we also see as a key factor in terms of uptake of our results and of the methodologies. So this would be all from our side. I mean, we have all the information also in our website, and I'm happy to reply to any questions that may have arisen.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for this presentation, and thank you for highlighting the solution that the project has come up with, especially when it comes to the wetland-based solutions on the greenhouse mitigation to restoration, and the other one for flood regulation, but also for presenting the different barriers and challenges. Now let's go to our next thematic project, Strategy Med4, that will be presented by Nieves Garcia Pablos. Please, Nieves, if you're here.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you, Roja. Okay, let me start checking that the presentation shares. So, yes, I can. Let's see. Okay. Can you see my presentation? Yes. Okay. You can see? Yes. Okay. I cannot hear. So strategy. I'm gonna start. Okay. For those who don't know, Strategy Med4. Strategy Med4 is a project in which the main objective is to develop a robust and adaptable strategy, which takes into consideration future climate scenarios for the sustainable management of Mediterranean forests. It has a focus on the Balkan region, where the three of our pilot sites are located, which are North Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Greece. So the innovative component of the project is the integration of cutting-edge technologies and in-depth research and collaborative partnerships. So this is a very highly consultative process in which we have involved associate partners, the stakeholders from management, forestry, and research sectors. And we start this project collectively rethinking what was the meaning of sustainable management and how does it apply for Mediterranean forests. It came to the many conclusions, but the importance of integrating biodiversity conservation, how climate regulation and carbon sequestration, soil management, water resource protection, ecosystem service delivery, and involving integrating socioeconomic benefits, local and regional levels, were very important pieces in this new era of forest management. And based on this, we identified a series of indicators, a framework of 12, what we call supplementary indicators, which are aligned, so they complement the Forest Europe framework for the sustainable management of forests, which is widely recognized. But our scope is that they are tailored to the Mediterranean reality. So they take into consideration how the Mediterranean reality is different, and forests are not the same in this part. So for you to get an idea, so this was a consultative process. We went through different iterations of the last version, but On the left, you can see the Forest Europe indicators. On the right, those ones that were identified as these new ones that we will present. They tackle issues they go from forest fires, they integrate biodiversity potential, genetics, risk of extinction, climate scenarios, specifically climate-induced migration of species, and ecosystem service provisions in general lines. And then as a key part of this strategy, we always kept in mind, that the idea was this, how can we, with our tools, with our spatial analysis that we'll be able to contribute. So this is, taking this a step forward. With this, we produce, with the idea of the implementation, we create some products, spatial projects to support forest managers on the ground, but also decision makers at a higher level on how they can, all this can be implemented. How can they track progress on their indicators? So some of these products, for example, were the spatial specialization of these indicators. Some of them, not all of them, could be specialized, but we're still working on it. But for example, Mediterranean forest area, it's already ready. We have maps of also forest typologies. We're also producing maps of what are areas of high ecological value forests, which show like hotspots where threatened, endemic landscape species occur in the Mediterranean. Also like large areas of well-connected and disturbed forests. And also another product we're developing is a map of 3 species migration routes based on future climate scenarios. So this is still a work in process, but the idea is that we'll be able to have these maps, but also Strategy Med for Partnership intends to propose at the end of this project a voluntary, not legally binding cooperation framework for the transboundary governance of forests in the Mediterranean. Okay. So some of the questions that came to mind when we were thinking about this presentation, the first one, for example, was how can, and thanks Doha for supporting us with this as well, is how can restoration priorities identified through the Strategy Med for geospatial mapping can be integrated in EU and national restoration plans. And this question made us think of our experience, and I wanted to start with the idea that even though global and regional policies have declared 2020-2030 like a decade for restoration, and despite the importance of the regional planning and prioritization, restoration is really not a one-size-fits-all solution. And restoration action, especially in the Mediterranean, and prioritization all require stewardships and locally ground planning and prioritization. This came clear when we started our project and we asked our 3 pilot sites what were their priorities, and they totally came out with different answers. So in the case of Galicia National Park in the Prespa Ohrid region in North Macedonia, it was the conservation of the Greek juniper forest, an EU habitat of importance. But then for Samaria National Park in the island of Crete in Greece, the priority was the restoration of abandoned olive groves with their natural and cultural heritage to be preserved. And then the Dinarica pilot site near Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina, they wanted to test the close to nature forest management and how forest management, the effects of climate change and resilience of forest ecosystems in the area as they are in the Mediterranean and Alpine, in the bordering area between the Mediterranean and Alpine continental climates. So all very interesting, all very unique and really very different. So these different points of views made it clear the importance of what is to facilitate that collaboration between key stakeholders working on the ground which in many cases know, in most of the cases they know what the needs are, what the gaps are, and working close to them has been a recurrent point that has came on in all our workshops so far. Another in line of these recommendations also, we think an important point, it is also like, even though the natural restoration regulation foresees monitoring that's how we carry out, it talks about at least 6 years, which means that is not only 2030, but we should keep in mind the horizon of, this is a continuing work. There is other target 2050. And in that way, strategy made for products, for example, like the supplementary indicators, they are designed to be used in the long term. They support not only managers on the ground, but also provide evidence for policymaking at higher levels. We're trying to make that connection to always, we do reality checks, we call it, with the practitioners on the ground. Does this work? Does this Mediterranean maps make sense for you? Do they help you? Is something you can use, but also, indicators will be taken at a higher level as well. So we think it's important to help develop and adjust those management practices. So to be sure we maintain the status, and if possible to improve the status, for example, mitigation of fire risk. Again, that some practices are general, but many need to be adapted to specific environmental conditions, like other colleagues mentioned before. And then we think it's very important to keep publicity and actively promote that this product. So communication is very important for connecting with countries, and then support the stakeholders, which ones to use. So we have a lot of geospatial tools. They're going to be open source. They will be able to be. They have open data, and we would like to encourage and facilitate their use, and then adapt them to be able to use them in the restoration actions and make them as useful as possible. For an example here of something that is not finished yet, but how we're working on this interactive tool in our platform, in which we'll be displaying the indicators, and will be able to be used by countries to track, or at Mediterranean level, to track changes in the indicators. We hope this will be a useful tool. And then moving on, also we were talking about one specific questions were how, let me see which ones are another question that was how can monetary frameworks and data sharing be standardized across borders to fulfill EU reporting obligations? Okay, so in our case, standardization is clear, like maybe it's because we work with data and spatial data. So we really support, and we've seen the standardization is integrated, for example, in the EU forest monitoring law. So adopt database standards as early as possible is very important. Adopt open software and platforms and tools. Then prepare training courses and pre-materials that users, decision makers can be used. And then we also think it became clear how important is that there's a network in the Mediterranean of users that can connect and even go a step forward or organize visits to exchange lessons learned, sharing examples that have been so useful for us, and that we think it really is a clear thing that works in the Mediterranean, despite all the differences between the different areas of the region. And then specifically, we were asked to talk a little bit about recommendations on land abandonment and fire risks, and how can it be integrated into restoration policy long term. And even though we are still, we're still developing the strategy, we're still we still don't have the final products, but we have a lot of experts. So I went to them, I asked them for help. And so they point out some of the things, but I guess the first thing was like, for the restrictions through policies are difficult in rural people, sometimes are perceived negatively. So we should think about, that integration, how important it is to involve them in the processes, particularly for land abandonment. We think inviting people, local people, rural people to engage them in the preparation of policies, but also in the implementation. Also make all the restoration policy accessible, thinking about the language we're using, thinking about the different levels of
I'm sorry,
policy.
Nieves, to
Yes, I'm finishing.
but
Okay,
okay,
I'm finishing.
thank you so much.
And then sorry. And then providing scientific guidance and financial support and bureaucracy. And we have we have a lot of work on fire risks, and the comments were that it's very important to promote the presence of a healthy and active population. Still, the kids can be involved through volunteering, education in the prevention, but also in the response. Not only focusing on civil protection, but also involving environmental agencies, and then promoting cultivations that safeguard soil, and then incentives for farmers. And I'm stopping here. I'm sorry, I lost totally track of the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nieves, for this insightful presentation and for sharing with us the solution of your project, such as the integrated forest strategy framework, the social ecological integration, and geospatial and indicator tools. And we are highly welcoming the project proposal on a voluntary non-binding cooperation framework for forest governance in the Mediterranean, which I think will allow data standardization, but also data sharing mechanism to meet EU reporting obligations. So let's move quickly to our next thematic project, WigoCoop, that will be presented by Giancarlo Gusmaroli from Medwet. Giancarlo, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Doa. Thank you to the whole Natural Heritage Mission team for giving us another possibility to networking, to share our initiatives. As you know, we are in a very crucial stage of WigoCoop. The project is going to be completed by the end of the year. So now we are coming to the last deliverables and I would say the most important initiatives of the project. So today I'm going to give you a brief overview about what we are doing and where we are. And clearly I will try to contribute with some policy recommendation that might be useful for this working group. Let me share the screen if I can. Please just tell me when you see my screen.
We see it.
Yeah, we can see it. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's start from the acronym WigoCoop. That is clearly an invitation to do something together, to cooperate. That is the very fundamental ingredient for governance. But beyond the acronym and this message, it comes from this extended title, so improving wetland governance through a community of practice. So basically we are deal with environmental governance related to wetlands at Mediterranean scale. And our main scope is to set up a community of practice on this issue, focusing mainly of the wetland contract tool that has been implemented across the Mediterranean for the last 45 years. So it's well experienced. And the partnership of this project believe that it's time to be aware of this and come together Be aware that we are a family of public entities, private organizations at local, national, and Mediterranean scale that are committed for improving governance of wetlands. And at the same time, we have in our pocket this tool, the tool of the wetland contract that might be further used, implemented. So basically, this is the partnership of this project. I am talking on behalf of MedWet, that is the Mediterranean initiative of the Ramsar Convention, based in Camargue, south of France. But as you can see, we have partners from Portugal, Spain, Italy, Croatia, Albania, and Greece. Anatoliki is the lead partner from Thessaloniki. The project has these figures, as you can see below. And beyond this, in a very nutshell, this is the main activities we are carrying out. So first of all, we are collecting information and knowledge about wetland contracts in the Mediterranean. By the end of November, we will launch a web platform that basically is mapping all the wetland contracts that have been signed in the Mediterranean so far. And together with the platform, in which anyone can browse informations, contacts, documents related to wetland contracts, we are releasing a technical report that basically provides an analysis of the state of art of wetland contracts in the Mediterranean, together with an analysis of regulatory frameworks of those countries that have recognized the wetland contract. So I'm sharing this information in particular with our colleagues from Sardinia, because I think we can combine the work we are doing on this legal issue related to wetland contract with the broader work they are carrying out on governance in the Mediterranean. Second pillar is seeding or strengthening the wetland contract approach in 8 pilot areas of the Mediterranean. So seeding where the wetland contract is new, and strengthening where it is already been implemented and it can be further developed. So we have case studies from east to west, from north to south, including 2 countries of the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa, namely Lebanon and Morocco. I was personally in Morocco last week for the last meeting we had. So basically setting the basis for further development of wetland contracts around the Mediterranean. Third pillar is to set up the community of practice, as I was mentioning before. This is the main goal of the project, but this community of practice will be launched next week in Marseille. So it will be formally recognized, basically, because I would say it already exists. A lot of organizations are part of this community, but most of these organizations are not aware to be part of this community. So we would like to formally acknowledge the community in Marseille by signing a memorandum of understanding amongst the project partners of WIGOCOP that starting from the day after will be open to membership, to support from any organization that will be happy to be part of this community. So this is clearly an invitation to any of you colleagues to be part of this family if you are interested in governance of wetlands and intending wetlands according to the Ramsar Convention definition. So rivers, lakes, lagoon, coastal waters, MPAs, any aquatic ecosystems, and the catchment related. Last but not least, the fourth pillar is advocacy. So our goal is to advocate policymaker in order to have more recognition and support for wetland contracts in the Mediterranean. And this will be the contribution we will share with you today in one of my next slides. So for those that are not familiar with wetland contracts, this is a very short definition. Basically, they are voluntary based agreements contract, so not legally binding, but based on mutual commitment, as any contract. So you don't have to write a contract, to sign a contract, but if you decide to join the contract, it means that you commit for taking action, to doing something jointly with other subscribers. It's open to any public and private organization, ranging from local to regional scale, anyone anyhow related to the management of a wetland might join this kind of agreement. And clearly the main goal of this agreement has to be related to the protection, the restoration, and the sustainable use of aquatic ecosystem. This is why we call it wetland contract and not development contract. So in this case, the agreement has the natural capital at the center, and any initiative start from the importance of the health of wetlands in this case, and start talking about development from this perspective. Let's go ahead just to tell you that we are at the point of establishing a community of practice, because in the last 10 years, thanks to many EU-funded projects that have been developed around the Mediterranean, in particular from the Interreg program, the Mediterranean, the Euromed now, but at the same time other transnational Interreg programs. You can see here the story. I'm not going to enter into details, but you might appreciate that there has been a lot of efforts in the last year to test this tool, to demonstrate the feasibility and how much effective it might be in supporting sustainable management of wetlands. It has been developed on different typologies of wetlands. For instance, the TUNAP project, the previous Euromed Interreg project, focus on MPAs, marine protected areas. At the same time, the coasting project focus on this tool to be related with tourism along Mediterranean coasts. So site-specific, team-specific, different applications. So far, we can say that there is a very broad experience on this tool, and times are fine to say we are ready, we can use it, we can spread it as much as possible in order to improve management of our wetlands. This is the state of art of countries that have been experiencing the wetland contract. So far, about 250 wetland contracts have been signed around the Mediterranean, but many more have been started. So in the next years, we could expect more and more wetland contracts to come. France has been the starter of the process 45 years ago. Italy followed together with Belgium. Belgium is not a Mediterranean country, but we have to acknowledge they start using this tool starting from the 90s. And after these three countries, as you can see, most of the European countries bordering the Mediterranean are now on board. Namely, only Bosnia-Herzegovina and Cyprus are not experiencing the wetland contract yet, but hopefully they will somehow join, maybe through the community of practice. And as I was mentioning before, Lebanon and Morocco. In Lebanon, in April this year, the first ever wetland contract of Lebanon and the whole Asian continent has been signed. So I was there, and the situation, as you know, was not that easy in that moment. Now seems to be a little bit better, but in spite of the geopolitical situation, it has been really impressive to see a local community in Lebanon around the wetland to trust in governance and to decide to commit for the sustainable management of the river. So this is a really powerful message that come to us from a country that is facing huge challenges, as we know. And Morocco, as I already mentioned to you. So let's come to the final part, the contribution that we can give to this working group, which are the policy recommendation that we are delivering as WIGOCOP project through the advocacy action I was mentioning before, and that I am very happy to share here as well. So from one side, the recognition of wetland contract, this is the main, the first pillar, as a tool for engagement of relevant stakeholders for community-led wetland management, because we believe that empowering communities is a milestone for sustainable management of such fragile and complex ecosystems like wetlands. Second, a tool for development of place-based strategies for integrated wetland management. The river basin approach at broad scale is crucial, but at the same time, you have to be able to downscale to, to local communities, to specific places in which things happens in order to develop strong, feasible, and long-standing strategies. Third, a tool for identification of win-win solutions for sustainable wetland management. The scientific community is very pretty aware about what win-win solutions are, but when you come to the ground, you can still hardly find on a daily basis, on an ordinary, approach, win-win solutions to happen. So by implementing such governance approaches at local scale, you might find very tailor-made solution and building trust on this solution when you are able to implement them, even on a test scale, on a pilot scale. So it's a step-by-step process that can be supported by such an agreement like a wetland contract. Last but not least, a tool for enhancement the financial capacity for effective wetland management. As we know, some countries are facing huge challenges in terms of spending the money available. In many cases, it's not a problem of lack of fundings, but is an issue of capacity of spending all of them in an effective way. So by bringing stakeholders together, both from the public and private sector, set the basis for good financial capacity. You should avoid the conflict. You should bring together the efforts, the financial efforts implemented by the private sector together with those one implemented by the public sector. So there is room for improvement in this field thanks to governance processes well designed and well implemented. Second pillar we are advocating to is commitment. Obviously, we are talking about policymakers, so the commitment from their side to support wetland contracts through improve the mainstreaming and the recognition at European and national level into policies and strategies of the wetland contract. The more we mention, the more we acknowledge the wetland contract, the more it can be known, used, and we build trust on this tool. If communities, public organizations, private sectors can find it in the relevant documents at European, national, and clearly also regional and local scale. The regulatory framework clearly is strategic for any voluntary-based agreement. Second, harmonization of methodological approaches. As I was saying, many European projects have been developing methodological approaches. More or less, they are...
Apologies, Giancarlos, for interruption, but could you please make it a little bit faster?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. It's time to bring together the different methodological approaches and try to, find out which are the common points and maybe to harmonize different perspectives without canceling the tailor-made approach that is needed for implementing successful governance at local scale. Then fostering networking and dissemination, much more what our community of practice can do. So we are asking for support basically to the community of practice. And last but not least, mobilization of financial resources for supporting both the processes of wetland contracts and the implementation of their commitments, of their action plan. I go to my hand just with an announcement. Next week, 5 and 6 of November in Marseille, we will host the first Mediterranean Forum on Wetland Contracts. Anyone interested might join online because it is organized in hybrid format. By clicking the website of WigoCop and checking for events, you find the registration form. And then if you register, you will receive the link to attend online event. Second, the community of practice will be launched in Marseille, and as I was saying before, it will be open. So anyone interested in joining this community of practice can easily fulfill a form that will be made available after Marseille in the website of WigoCop project, but you can also contact any partner, starting from Medwet. So you are most welcome to join the community. And last but not least, anyone is very welcome to contribute and support the policy paper we are preparing on wetland contracts in the Mediterranean. The policy recommendation I share now were just taken from this document, is still an open document. We already received the contribution and support from many relevant organizations like UFM, MedPan, OYO, and others. I'm not mentioning all of them. So we are building a strong support around this policy paper. The Natural Heritage Mission is contributing as well with its own experts and organizations. So we are very happy of this community that is taking action. So if you are interested in this advocacy initiative, you can write to this email account, and you will be put in the condition of contribute and supporting the policy paper. That's all from my side. Sorry for having been a bit longer than expected. I have done my best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Giancarlo, for this presentation, and thank you for highlighting the importance of the wetland contract as a voluntary agreement where local authorities, communities, and business commit to protect and manage wetlands together. Also for highlighting the WigoCop efforts to formalize recognition of these contracts in European Union and national policies, to strengthen financial and technical capacities, and to expand the community of practice, connecting practitioners across the region. And last but not least, thank you for reminding us of the upcoming first Mediterranean Forum on Wetlands Contracts that will be held next week in Marseille. So let's now jump quickly to our last thematic project, Local for Flood, that will be presented by Meritchel.
Hi. Yes, I'm here. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see it in presentation mode?
No, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I will try to keep it short. I'm Maritza Abril, and we are very happy to be here to present our project. First, I will give you a brief introduction to the main objective and approach of the Local for Flood, and then I will go through the different tools that we have developed that are aligned with relevant policies, and we will include also some policy recommendations to help on the implementation of these policies. Okay. Well, the general objective of the Local for Flood is to improve flash flood risk management. As you know, flash floods are typical from the Mediterranean area, but due to the global change, now its frequency and intensity is increasing. Therefore, we need to rethink a little bit the flood risk management, and for that, the Local for Flood proposed a multi-stakeholder and integrated approach that include prevention, adaptation, and mitigation actions. We are currently testing an early warning system to improve flash flood prediction as a prevention action. We are also designing, and we will start soon, the implementation of different educational materials and activities to raise awareness and improve the response capacity of citizens in front of these events as an adaptation action. And finally, for mitigation, we are promoting the implementation of nature-based solutions that also include restoration actions. We are testing this approach in 9 pilot watersheds across the Mediterranean, and now I will go through the first tool that we want to share with you, that is this catalog of nature-based solutions. Sorry?
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but maybe we don't see correctly the slides. We are still on the first one, so maybe that's not correct.
It's not correct, no. Okay, I will try to share it again, okay?
Yes, thank you, and sorry for the interruption.
No. Thanks. Okay. Okay, now it's working. Do you see the map?
We see the presentation, but not in full screen, the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Did you share the screen or the window? Maybe that's the problem.
The window.
Merichel, should I share your presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll share it in a second.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
My idea was to keep it short, but I see that.
Okay. Can you see your slides? Okay.
Yes. We are on the map. There is a map with the pilots.
Okay, here's the map.
Okay, now. And then in the next one, please. Here you can see the catalog of nature-based solutions. We have conducted an extensive review of the potential NBS that could be applied for flood risk management. And the idea is that this catalog can be a toolbox for managers. And to provide them this information in order to increase their awareness about the potentials of NBS for that, including restoration actions. And indeed, if we have a look to the catalog in the next slide, please. Here you can see that some of the proposed NBS that included on it are restoration actions, wetland restoration, reforestations, or river restoration. And this tool, these catalogs in the next, please, it's aligned with all these policies, the Floods Directive, the Water Framework Directive, and the Nature Restoration Law, because all of them promote the restoration of freshwater ecosystems. And it is important to mention also in the next, please, that the European Union published last year a guidance document called River Basin Management in a Changing Climate that also promote the implementation of these nature-based solutions. Please, can you mute yourself? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, it's just so you know, there's my computer is going to undertake an update which I have no control over in 6 minutes. So I'm very sorry, but if I get kicked out, I don't know if the main link will stay online. But in any case, we'll put it back on with my colleague Alice on her computer, just so you know. I'll pass to the next slide.
Not hurry. Okay. And then, and regarding these guidelines, in this document, they mention that even nature-based solutions has been included in flood river management plans. Still, gray infrastructure, for example, dams or channels, are dominant. Then, and why? Please, next. Mainly because there is a lack of knowledge among managers about the potential of NBS, no? And that's why they need not only documents like our catalog, but also like training and clear guidelines to really promote the implementation of these nature-based solutions. And here there is our next tool is that we have also designed and implemented a training program and workshop with the idea of improving the cooperation among stakeholders and involve them in the execution of these prevention, adaptation, and mitigation actions, including the promotions and the implementation of NBS. Please, next. Here you have like an overview of this training program that includes 3 different sessions. The last one will take place next month in November in all our pilots, and is focused on mitigating flash flood using nature-based solutions. And it has a first training part where we explain the nature-based solutions for flood protection, and then we will have also a workshop to co-design and co-implement the NBS at pilot scale with stakeholders. And here it's important, yes, please, next. To mention that we have followed a stakeholder engagement process, and thanks to it, we have achieved a high participation and the involvement of different types of stakeholders in these training sessions and workshops. And next. Here you can see some pictures of these sessions in all our pilots. Next. And next, okay, and then this training program and workshop is aligned with, again, with this directive, because all of them ask for this public participation, no, to ensure like the acceptance of the different measures that this directive propose, no, to fulfill the objective. And next. However, it is important to mention that it is needed like a significant effort and dedicated funding to really engage the community on this process, no? And this is something that should be included or at least contemplated in these directives. Then another tool, the last one that we wanted to share with you, is that we have also designed and implement a flash flood awareness, a survey to assess the flash flood awareness and the risk perception of the citizens in flood-prone areas. And as a basis, and we have used the results from this survey to design different education materials and activities to promote like a safety behavior and increase the risk awareness. Please, next. Because in the flood directive, there is like the flood directive requires the public access to flood maps and management, no? With the objective of raising this awareness among citizens of flood risk. However, if we look at the results of our survey, we see that there is still limited knowledge among citizens of key concepts. No, they don't know really what's the flood directive, what are the risk maps, what are NBS. Then, please, next. We need not only to provide them with this information, but also we need active activities. No, and please, next. Active training and activities to really enhance the flood awareness and support the NBS implementation. Then we have designed, based on these results, different education materials and activities, and now I will show you some examples of them. Please, next. For example, we have design, and we will implement in all our pilots an exhibition and a leaflet, including information about NBS, the flood risk maps, and everything. And also, next, please. A poster and a magnet with information about safety behavior that the citizens should have in front of these events. And that's all from our side. Thank you for your attention. And sorry for all the problems and everything.
Thank you very much for bearing with us, Merichel.
Thank you so much, Marichel, for this insightful presentation, and thank you for sharing with us your concrete solutions that go from the creation of the catalog of nature basin solution for flood risk management, the training and workshops, and the education materials to improve the flood awareness. Now let's move to our guiding questions that will be presented by my colleagues Alice and Arnaud. I don't know if Arnaud and Alice.
Yes, thank you, Zoa, and
Thank you.
for all the partners to present their solutions and policy recommendation. Unfortunately, we won't have time to present the guiding questions and to engage with the rest of the community for them to also share the insights that could also be integrated in the policy recommendations that we want to build as a mission and then to be presented in the next upcoming policy events such as the COP24. But we will reach out to you per email to share these guiding questions in order also to get your feedbacks and insights regarding this topic. And just before going to conclusion, not to take too much of your time, we will have a working session, the next annual institutional dialogue in Barcelona, also to consolidate and to improve these policy recommendations that we will have built with the rest of the mission beforehand in order to have them ready before the next event. Thank you again. Sorry for the delay, and thank you so much, Odoa. I'll give you back the floor.
Thank you so much, Alice. I think we will wrap up our webinar today, right?
Yes, we can close it now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the audience who thank you for your time and patience. I just wanted to summarize like the catchy or the most relevant policy recommendation that kept be repeated during all the intervention of our speakers. We have these actions and approaches demonstrate that Mediterranean restoration success depends on integrated governance, the evidence-based planning, the sustained local participation, transforming citizens from beneficiaries into active stewards, and last but not least, the innovative financing and partnerships, including carbon markets and blended public-private investments, ensuring restoration is both environmentally and economically durable. I will pass quickly the floor to my colleague Marilena, just to give you insights regarding the next steps. Please, Marilena, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Doha, for your wonderful facilitation, and thank to all of you for participating and bearing with us, even though there were some technical issues. A big thank you also to all the project partners that are working inside the mission and was behind all the progress and preparation for this webinar. Just as Doha said, a few comments regarding the next steps. As Alice said, and due to time restrictions, we would do the feedback to the policy recommendation through emails. And also you would receive, we will start through an email, but we would essentially explain it a little bit more and do an activity regarding a study regarding the collaboration between European and non-European networks in the Mediterranean area, the barriers, the opportunities, and the lessons learned, let's say, in order to be able to put the first foundation for our own Mediterranean resilient network that we would start and prepare in the near future. So just to have in mind that you would receive through email this to next steps in order to guide us to the institutional dialogue in Barcelona, as we said, on the last week of November, where we would discuss it and validate the results, the feedback, and the discussions more in person, that it would be more easy to discuss. Thank you so much for all your patience. Also, not to forget, there was some problems regarding the emails that we sent regarding the institutional dialogue. We would try to send them again, but please keep in mind if there are some problems that keep being received, because we had some problems with the emails, not that you couldn't receive them. So please make sure that you also check Basecamp, the Basecamp notification, because in any case, if we can reach you through the emails, if they bounce back, we would post all the relative information there. So that's it from me. Thank you again for all your patience and feedback, and see you again on Barcelona. Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone wants to add something from the rest of the partners.
Thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you all. Thank you so much for your patience and your availability today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.